Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. With permission of Rabbi Barkhan, your great rabbi here in this synagogue, it's a great pleasure really to come here and have this opportunity to visit this wonderful community here and to see how things are moving forward with the help of all the people who are here. You come and you join in the activities as it is the correct way to behave as good Jewish brothers and sisters. And when Rabbi Barkhan asked me to speak, I agreed to, which is appreciation for Rabbi Barkhan and his great work. But then, for some reason, I changed a little bit, and I hope that my decision will be okay and it'll be something interesting for everybody involved. In this week's parasha, in this week's Sedra, this week's Torah portion, which is called Yisro, great things which happened to the Jewish people. Yisro had heard about Yitzias Mitzrayim, how the Jewish people had left Mitzrayim, how God made wonderful miracles to the Jewish people. The splitting of the sea, one of the ultimate miracles in Jewish history. Almighty God split the sea and the Jewish people went through it. Then Yisro also heard about another subject, which is the war of Amalek. Amalek came and made war with the Jewish people. After Yisro had heard about these great things, he heard that the Jewish people had such wonderful miracles, such wonderful nisim happened to them. And nevertheless, Amalek, this great wicked nation, nevertheless made a fight against the Jewish people. Yisro realized that it's not enough to sit at home. He realized it's not enough to know that there's a God in the world and that this God looks after his Jewish people in miraculous ways. That's not enough. Because just as Yisro had heard the great things which the Jewish people had incurred, also Amalek had also heard these things. Amalek had also heard how the Jewish people, 10 nisim which HaKadosh Baruch Hu did to the Egyptians, hundreds of nisim on the Yam Suf. Nevertheless, Amalek decided, let's fight the Jewish people. Yisro understood that we have to come. We cannot stay at home. We cannot just hear about it. We have to come and learn. As you people have done today, even though you know about great things, you come and learn. You come and listen. You wanted to come and listen to Rabbi Barkhan. You wanted to learn the Torah. Yisro is the father of this message, this week's parsha. Don't sit at home. Don't just hear about things. Actually come and learn, just like Yisro came. Come and learn Torah. Yisro was there a couple of days, a few weeks, by Moshe Rabbeinu, and Yisro sees things going on, and he says to his father-in-law, to son-in-law Moshe Rabbeinu, I can't understand, this is not the right way to behave. He says people the whole day are coming and addressing Moshe Rabbeinu with difficult questions. Moshe Rabbeinu was sitting from the morning till the night, judging the people. This is too much. This is not good for Moshe Rabbeinu. This is not good for the people. We have to rearrange the structure. Yisro was coming with his great idea of rearranging the structure. He said to Moshe Rabbeinu, maybe instead of having only one judge, one person, let's make a group. Let Moshe Rabbeinu find great scholars, good people who can manage. Let Moshe Rabbeinu set up a court system. And Yisro said as follows. When you set up this court system, Yisro says, let's get his actual statement from our Chumash. Yisro said as follows. Loi toiv hadova shat oise. You're not doing the right thing. It'll cause trouble to yourself. Listen to me, he says, and I'll explain you what to do. Get great people who can be trusted, and they will judge the people. V'chol hadover hagodoil. All great things, large problems, yoviu elecha, will bring to Moshe Rabbeinu. Great problems, bring to the leader. V'kol hadover hakoten. But if it's a small issue, yishpatu heim, then you have other judges who are impossible. They can manage it, and that way things will be easier for everybody. Moshe Rabbeinu listened to his father-in-law. Might have been difficult to listen to his father giving him advice. Moshe Rabbeinu was the man in the Jewish people. Nevertheless, he listened to his father's advice. And he chose honest people, and he said to them as follows. And he said as follows, Hadova hakoshe, if the problem is a difficult problem, Yavon el Moshe, let the difficult problems be brought to Moshe Rabbeinu. V'chol hadover hakoten, the easier things, the small things, yishputu heim, let the judges judge. Why is it that when Yisro said that my idea is as follows: big problems you bring to Moshe, small problems you bring to the rest of the judges. Moshe Rabbeinu said no. It's nothing to do with big problems and small problems. That's not the difference. It's whether it's a difficult problem or an easy problem. A difficult problem, you have to come to Moshe Rabbeinu. An easy problem, other people can manage. Yisro didn't differentiate between difficult and easy. He differentiated between large and small. What's the difference? Why did Yisro use a different language, and why did Moshe Rabbeinu use a different language? And the answer is given as follows. Yisro came from a non-Jewish culture. He wasn't born Jewish. He wasn't educated as a Jewish person. In the non-Jewish mind, the problems when it comes to money is either large money or small money. It's either €1 million or maybe it's only €1. That's the difference. Large problems and small problems. A large problem is €1 million. Small problems are only €1. Moshe Rabbeinu says, no. That is not the way, that's not the Jewish outlook towards money. Towards, when we have a problem to discuss, it's not measured by how many thousands of euros we're talking about. It's not measured by the amount of money. Because the problems which we are discussing can be the smallest, they can be €1, but it can be a difficult problem. Because it's just €1, therefore we should say, let somebody else deal with it. Because it's only €1, maybe therefore we can say, anybody can do it. In many lands, I think in all the world, you have two separate ways of going to court. You have a small claims court in Germany. Yes, there's a small claims court. If it's up to a certain amount of money, you have somebody who's a lower judge. Why? Because it's less money. So they say, let him deal with it. Becomes more money. After 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 euros, you go to a bigger court. That is the non-Jewish way of looking at things, because they decide a lot of money needs a more important, a more cleverer person, a more special person. Small money, anybody can deal with. Moshe Rabbeinu says nothing doing. That's not the Jewish way of looking at money. If it's a difficult problem, it can be difficult about €1, and we need great rabbis to decide it. Because if it's €1, I don't want to be a a rob. I don't want to steal from somebody. I don't want to take away money from a person, even if it's €1. If it's €1 or 10,000 euros, there's no difference to me. It's not large money and small money which counts to the Jewish people. If we have a halachic question, we have a question which we have to ask our rabbi, it makes no difference. I'm not allowed to steal €1 and I'm not allowed to steal 10 million euros. If I'm not allowed to take €1 from my friend, then I'm not allowed to take it. €1 is equally important to the Jewish law, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the Almighty God, when it comes to two people behaving one to the other. €1 and 1 million euros is exactly the same. So Moshe Rabbeinu said to his judges, if it's easy, it can be a 10 million euros. If it's an easy problem, you can understand. You rabbis who are on the lower court system can understand how to deal with it. Then even if it's €1 million, deal with it. If it's a difficult question, even if it's €1, bring it to Moshe Rabbeinu. Because the Jewish way of looking at things is not large money and small money, it's whether it's a difficult question or an easy question. We see from this that the Jewish way of looking at money is that €1 and 1 million euros has the same value when it comes to a question how to behave according to the Torah. Am I allowed to take this €1? If the answer is no. Am I allowed to take 1 million euro? If the answer is no, then I don't touch it. Why is it? Why is it? Why did Moshe Rabbeinu give us this message? What was he telling us about the Jewish way to look at our belongings, at our money, at our physical objects which we own? The Gemara tells us makes a very interesting statement. The Gemara in Soita, everybody believes, if you ask any Jewish person about his future soulmate, you say to a person, are you married? Are you married yet? And he says, no, or she says, I'm not married yet. I'm still looking for my bashert. I'm still looking for the one which has been chosen from me by the Almighty God. The Gemara in Soita tells us that 40 days before the soul enters, the Jewish soul enters this physical world, there is an announcement made in heaven. There is an announcement made in heaven which says the daughter of this person to the son of that person. Everybody believes that matches of two people are made in heaven. And the Gemara tells us, 40 days before the soul enters this world, there is an announcement made. The announcement is, Avraham ben Yaakov im Rachel bas Yitzchak. That's the announcement which is made. And everybody knows that marriages are created by the Almighty. Everybody believes that. But there is a very interesting statement in the Gemara, in the Talmud, on the same line. On the very same line it says, Bayis Soda Leploini. It says, this house should belong to this person. Soda Zu Leploini. This field should belong to this person. The same Gemara. Has anybody ever thought that the field which he's going to buy to sow his crops, to make his livelihood from, that also needs to be announced from heaven? Does everybody ever think that the BMW which I'm going to buy is preordained from heaven? That the suit which I buy, these suits are made by the 1,000 in Hungary. This hat is made by the 1,000. do I ever think that they need to be called out in heaven, that this hat, when it's made in the factory in Hungary, is going to somebody called Schmal, and this suit, which is made in Hungary, is going to somebody called Schmal? Do we need God to announce that as well? Is God so involved? Is he involved making announcements about my car and my coat and the socks which I wear? Are they also on God's list of announcements which he makes before they come into this world? It's on the list of things. This is his match. This is his future partner in life. This suit is going to be his clothes for a year or 2 or 3, however long he lasts. This hat is going to be for this gentleman, and this pair of shoes is going to be for this person. And the Gemara tells us, yes, it's all on the same line. Why is it? Why is it that anything which we are going to own, whether it is a pair of shoes or a car or a house or even a pen, this pen which I have in my pocket, which was given by a company in Antwerp, a taxi company. A taxi company gives out these pens to the Kehilla where I work. This pen, probably made in China. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is thinking about when the pens are produced, that this pen is going to go to me. And with this pen, I'm going to write down these points which I want to discuss tonight. Anything which belongs to anybody in this room is preordained, just like his soul mate is preordained from heaven. That's what the Gemara tells us. Why is that? Why is it? Why is it that everything which a Jewish person, a Jewish man, a Jewish woman will ever come in contact into their belongings has already preordained by the Almighty? And the Baal Shem Tov tells us a wonderful thing. He says that this Gemara is teaching us, and the idea behind this Gemara is that just like I am connected to my wife, just like every person is connected to his soul partner, and everybody realizes that when you get married to a person, there are 2 souls which are coming together to make up, and the souls already have a connection. The same thing is which every single thing which any Jewish person will ever own has a connection to his or her soul. Already HaKadosh Baruch Hu has decided that. It is not only my marriage mate, it is my belongings. Even if it's a pen, this pen is connected to my soul. This hat, which is getting me hot, is connected to my soul. I have to own this hat, because this hat and this pen are like connected to me, like my soulmates, just like my wife or your husbands are connected to you. So too my belongings are connected to me. They have in them special sparks which are connected to my soul. So therefore the Gemara tells us, Bas ploini le ploini, the daughter of somebody is going to get married to this man, and Bayis ploini le ploini, this house where we're living in today, where we're sitting today, whether it was built or it wasn't built, it was preordained already that it should belong to Beis Chabad here in this town under Rabbi Barkhan. This house is connected to all the people here. It has a soul connection. In this house has been waiting maybe for tens and tens of years to be bought by Rabbi Barkhan and his people who help him here, in order that I and you and everybody who will in the future ever enter this place, because we have a connection to it. We are soul mates, not only of our husbands, we are soul mates of our belongings. Every belonging has some part which is connected to my soul. And therefore Yisro said, Dover HaKotan, Moshe Rabbeinu said, Big money or small money, if it's my money or your money, if it's €1, which we have a discussion about, the decision is a decision which affects our spiritual lives. We can't say because it's small money, we'll leave it to somebody to decide for us, just because it's small money. Because this is our soul. This €1 is connected to my soul, just like my house is connected to my soul. Just like my car is connected to my soul. Just like everything which I own is connected to my soul. Moshe Rabbeinu told us, Hadover ha-kosher, if it's a problem, we have to decide who owns it. Yaviu Elai. If people can't help, if the smaller rabbis cannot help it, let us bring it to the great rabbis, because it's a soul connection here we're dealing with. And if it's €1 or 10,000 euros, it's always something which is a connection to the soul. The Gemara tells us in a very, very interesting statement. The Gemara says, when you appoint judges to deal with monetary questions, you appoint a judge, he has to be very, very, very careful indeed how he behaves. Why? The Gemara says, Ki hamishpot lelokimhu. The judgment is towards the Almighty. That's what the Pasuk tells us. The Torah says, Ki mishpot lelokimhu. You should know the judgment is for God. And the Gemara tells us a very interesting statement. He says that when a Jewish rabbi is judging two people and their money, he is judging God as well. You hear that? When a person is sitting, three rabbis are sitting monetary issues, money matters between two people, they are judging God. How are they judging God? How does God come into it? Rashi tells us in the Gemara, Ki hamishpot lelekimhu. He says like this, if three judges, you have a bet din, a court, and they're judging a dispute between somebody called Reuven and his friend called Shimon, they are judging God as well. There's a third party who is in judgment, not only Reuven, but also Shimon. Why? Why is God involved here? Rashi tells us, if the court makes a mistake, and the court says Reuven and Shimon are arguing about a house or a car or a pen, and the court says, Reuven, this is not your pen, give it to Shimon. The court has judged. Reuven gives the pens to Shimon. But that's the wrong judgment. They made a mistake. They made a mistake, and they now have caused the Almighty God to change something in the world. They have caused Almighty God to change something in the world. Because they said, the court said, take the pen from Reuven and give it to Shimon. And Rashi tells us they have now caused God difficulty, in inverted commas. What's the difficulty? Because now the Almighty God has to take the pen back from Shimon and give it to Reuven. Can you believe that? Can you believe that's what the Talmud is telling us? That when a monetary aspect, a problem of money comes up, the responsibility is towards God, because otherwise, if you take €100 out of €100 out of Reuven and give it to the person who came to court, and it's wrong judgment, you're causing hardship for the Almighty. The Almighty now has to take this money back from Shimon and give it to Reuven. When I was in yeshiva, there was a young man who had a robbery. He was in yeshiva. Oh, he lost money, or it was a robbery. And he came to the rabbi and says to him, Rabbi, I lost money, or it was stolen from me. So the rabbi gave him a blessing. He says, may the Almighty fulfill your loss. A week later, he won the lottery, this young man. He lost £50, I think it was in those days, and you won a lottery for £100. It's very easy for God to sort out some of these problems with money. If you lose 50 here, the Almighty gives you 100 back with the lottery. You buy a lottery ticket, you lost your 50, God will give you back 100. But here in the Torah it tells us that if the court make a mistake in their judgment, they cause the Almighty difficulty. What's the big difficulty? If by mistake this pen is now in the hands of Shimon, so the Almighty will arrange that Reuven will get another pen. What's the difficulty for the Almighty? Rashi tells us God is in a difficult position. He has to take this pen back from Shimon and give it to Reuven. For crying out loud, can't the Almighty arrange Shimon, Reuven a new pen? He lost one of these cheap ones, let him get a Parker pen. Let him get something else. No, schmatter from an Antwerp taxi. What's the big deal? So that the Gemara tells us no. This pen is married, as it were. It's the sole companion of Reuven. This pen is connected to Reuven. That's what the Gemara is telling us. It's no use giving him another pen. This is the pen, this thing which writes. If it was in Reuven's hands, and you take it out of Reuven's hands, the Almighty has to make sure that this pen gets back into Reuven's hand. He has a soul connection with this. Therefore, the Gemara tells us, be very, very careful when it comes to judging money matters, because it's not only the two people in front of you who are in judgment in the courtroom, the Almighty is also in the courtroom. And if you make a mistake, and take the thing away from Reuven and give it to his friend Shimon, you're causing the Almighty, as it were, difficulty. He will have to see that this thing itself gets back to Reuven. It's not only money, it's not only the €100 which my friend lost back in yeshiva. He could get another €100 from the lottery, that's no problem. But if it's a physical object which belongs to one person, it is his sole connection to this thing, and he's not ready to part with it. His soul still needs it. He needs all his belongings. He needs all his things to be connected to him. That is the lesson which we learn from this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha, Moshe Rabbeinu was telling us, big money or small money, there's no difference. It is connected to the person. The person has his belongings. If you want to give them away, that's your business. If you want to give away something, give it away. You're finished with it. But if it's a question of who it belongs to, even if it's a question of €0.50, one has to be very careful. And if it needs a judgment from Moshe Rabbeinu, it can be worth 50 cents. Since it's my soul mate, it's connected to me, I need Moshe Rabbeinu sometimes to bring this question and decide, because we're not deciding only about this, we're deciding about the person's connection, his spiritual connection to everything that he owes. That is the lesson which we learn from this week's Parsha. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.